What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well, staying positive, and staying productive. I want to speak to you guys about injuries. On here because it's a huge problem for a lot of people that are trying to get healthy, trying to get into a good routine, and start to exercise because of previous injuries. For the most part, anybody who's in their late 20s, early 30s onwards has suffered from something: a fall, a chronic injury from sleep, from driving. It's something that happened to them when they were younger playing sport in school. And a lot of the people that I'm coaching and helping out with, along a avid, long-term fitness enthusiast, years of them in the gym in and out, have suffered injuries. I mean, it's inevitable. At some point you're going to get a small tear, a small strain. Some people even some more serious ones. They tear muscle tissue severely or do some damage to some ligaments, some tendons. People that have played rugby, football, basketball, volleyball, high impact sports, long distance runners have problems with their knees, with their hips, with their lower back. And this just comes with the territory. It doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong or something's wrong with you as like a fact. So I don't want people to think that about themselves. A car, once you take it from the dealership and you start using it, it starts getting wear and tear and it needs maintenance. And the human body, it's not that easy. We can't repair body parts and replace them like a car and drop it off in a garage. So we have to do the best that we can do to try to be able to stay healthy, stay mobile, and keep our joints and our muscles and our tendons as optimal as we possibly can. So I want to teach you guys and talk to you guys about my 4A's that I use when it comes to health and fitness, and anybody who's an active person or wants to be an active person to be able to gain some knowledge on how to be able to deal with injuries so they don't throw the towel in and quit on their fitness journey, because it's very important you stay healthy. All right. And usually when people get injured, they just decide to throw the towel in and they lose weeks and months of progress. And sometimes they go backwards, get back into their bad habits, and they lose all their progress. They feel guilty, and it's even harder for them to start again. And they've kind of got like a mind blocker. They've got a limiting belief about what they can do with certain movements. So let's speak about my 4A's. And the first one is to assess the cause. Okay. What caused this to happen? Let's reverse engineer it and see, was it something that happened in a split second in the gym or in our workout or in our run? It's something that was instantaneous that caused a pain, so we can understand what was the movement or what was the activity that caused it. Okay. If not, if it was something that just started to throb or get inflamed or give you some sort of pain or discomfort over time, we have to reverse engineer and look at everything in the routine. Was the person not stretching enough? Was the person not hydrated? Was the person rushing through movements? Was the person getting the wrong information and following a movement in their form that wasn't good for their body type? Sometimes people will be following someone's advice and it's solid advice and it's a good coach with a lot of knowledge, but the advice that they're getting on how to execute a certain exercise is not good for their body mechanics, for their hips, for their limbs, for their height, for their flexibility or range of motion. So we want to assess it, and then we want to see, what are we capable of from this point on forward? The second one is activity. Any muscle stimulation whatsoever is good. So if you got a severe injury, like you really tore tissue and you've got a bad strain, and your coach or your PT or your physio or your doctor says no movement for 2, 3, 4 weeks, 6 weeks until this heals, that means that you don't quit exercising. You just keep doing any muscle stimulation that you can. If you can't use your left shoulder area, that means that as long as you're not pivoting your rotator cuffs, you can still do biceps and triceps and legs and glutes, hamstrings, quads, split it up so that you can have more workouts, keep your metabolism up, stay in line with your diet, Stay in line with your routine and your cardio to the best of your ability. And then as you heal, when you come out of that and you can use that certain body part, you will be right back on your routine with the right mindset. You won't feel guilty. You won't feel like you lost the progress. If it's the opposite, like it's a limb, then maybe you can't do compound movements and squats and lunges because of your knee, because of your hip. But you can use the other leg, and you can still use your glutes on certain machines, or one-legged isolateral movements at home without any gym equipment. And you can still use your upper body. You can still easily get 3, 4, 5 workouts a week. I've done this for decades for people to help them stay in line with their routine. Okay. Now let's go to the third one, which is advance and adapt. Okay. That's the third A, advance and adapt. So now we want to be able to, once the healing process has ensued and we feel a bit better in that area, we adapt and see what movements can we do with that muscle group to not cause any aggravation. Okay, what movements, what range of motion, what can we change with our form, where we place our wrists and our elbows if it comes to a pushing movement or a pulling movement, or how can we change our stance with our feet if it's a lower body movement, or can we use a box or a step or a chair to be able to have like a limited range of motion to execute 80 or 90% of that movement, but not go deep enough to aggravate it anymore. Because it's very important that you keep getting mobility and blood flow to that tissue for it to heal, so that nutrients get there, blood gets there, oxygen gets there. It doesn't build up hard, dense scar tissue that's going to limit you from moving afterwards and cause stiffness, which happens to so many people. You'll meet people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that walk or move a certain way or grab or push or lift stuff in an awkward manner, and they'll say it's because of an injury. It's because their body healed and became stiff with sort of like an invisible internal cast, as if the body made a cast of scar tissue there, which now becomes a long-term problem. So we want to be able to adapt and start getting that area to be able to get more blood flow, get more flexibility, get more mobility, and that's going to help expedite the healing process even more. So that's very important. The fourth A in the 4 A's for the injury is to be able to have awareness. Okay, so awareness is an instinctive sort of process when it comes to this. You need to be aware. You need to listen to your body when you're tired, when you are in the middle of your workout and you're doing reps and you're doing exercises. You have to be able to feel that area specifically more than the rest of your body, to make sure that you understand when the onset symptoms start coming on that are giving you aggravation, that are giving you inflammation. When you start feeling that niggling pain, or the nerves shooting some pain at you there, you got to be able to pull back, let your ego drop and say, okay, today I'm not going to do this exercise even though it felt fine last week, because it might start to cause a chronic pain to be onset, and then I'm going to start suffering like I did before. And once you put all these pieces of the puzzle together, you will be able to continue on your fitness routine, and it will actually teach you, even if you use these 4 A's without having any injuries when you're training, okay? Just because certain times you have small discomforts because of a long flight, because of a long drive, because of a bad night's sleep. I have, 80 to 90% of my clients almost bi-weekly say to me, my workout didn't feel good because I fell asleep on the couch, or I slept this way on the bed, or because of the flight, or I got stuck in a meeting for 6 hours, or standing somewhere and now my hip is stiff. So I'll say to them the next day, you know what? Take it easy on these 2 or 3 exercises and maybe take that one out. And when you feel healthier next week, you can attack it, with all cylinders firing. This is going to keep you in the game long term. I've said this in multiple videos before, and I'm always going to keep saying it in different ways and packaging it up in a different wrapper. But it's very important for people to understand that unless you are 110% a full-time paid professional athlete, and even them can't keep up to the same variables. You can't be always comparing yourself to stats per se, all right? Because you're not always exactly the same, rested with the same amount of sleep, or hydrated, or had the perfect amount of food, or don't have any stress, or went 10 or 20 days without having a sore throat, or a bad menstrual cycle, or having a problem like a stomach bug or digestive issue. All these things add up that you need to be very instinctive of your training and understand which days and which exercises you need to pull back and think about the long term. You have to think about, this is something that I want to do for life. And if I push myself past this point today because of my ego or because I'm very goal orientated, this might cause me to lose 1, 2, or 3 weeks of progress and make me feel worse, and make me be stuck at home because now I can't train that area of my body at all because I didn't listen to myself. So you have to be a little bit instinctive. And if you're working with a coach, they should be teaching you that no matter what you're tracking in your phone app or on a log or in a journal in the gym, you're not a phone. You can't just go to your app store and download something and then your body says, okay, now we can do this. It's a progression, and it works with the environment around you. So if you haven't slept well, you haven't eaten well, if you have suffered from a virus or a bacteria infection in the last couple of days or from one on that day, you have to be able to pull back. And that's going to prevent you from injuring yourself and running yourself down to the ground. So I want to make sure you guys know that if you are injured or have an injury from previously that has given you issues, there's a way to work around it. And there's plenty of information out there on which exercises, physio and rehab, will help strengthen the area around that muscle so that you can be able to continue training. I'll give you an example. Most of you that followed me for years know in 2019, in one of my preps, 2 weeks before I was to peak and compete, I snapped both of my tricep tendons off of my elbow, completely dehydrated and doing a movement that I shouldn't have been doing. And I went to see, because of the medical profession that I'm in, I'm connected with a lot of good people. And the surgeon from Manchester City, the football team in the UK, was out here doing a seminar on surgery and sports science. So I had a meeting with him, and I saw him privately because he was on a mastermind that I was on before. And he spoke a lot of stuff about holistic approaches to exercise and nutrition for athletes, whatever. That doesn't have anything important with this. So I met him privately, and I know that he's one of the best in the business. He's doing surgeries and following the recovery of football players that are getting 20, 30, 40 million bucks a year. So I trusted myself with him over the doctors that were available here in Dubai and the UAE. So I didn't have to travel out of the country, because he does some special surgeries once every 6 to 8 weeks. He flies into the country for some high-end people. And he assessed me, saw me do the movements. I had, a fresh, it was 2 weeks after the injury, and he wanted to see how much movement I had in my arms. And as you can see here, the tendon that's supposed to be connected to the bone is still hanging there. 0 surgeries. I've had, a full recovery from it. I can't go as heavy as I used to. Okay. But, obviously I don't want to, because I also don't want to be that big. But the thing is that it didn't stop me. Those of you that remember, even that day that I snapped my triceps, I still did the cardio that evening. The next day I was in the gym again, doing lower body and doing other body parts. And I never took a day off. I just worked around it. I never lost the routine. I just slowly reverse dieted back into a normal caloric intake, because obviously I wasn't going to do the competition. But that's an extreme example, but I'm showing you how easy it was for me to just stay true to the process and have a recovery without having to be cut into and having anchors sewn from tendons into bones that can snap later, and then it's even worse, and they've got to go back into the wound to reopen it and reconnect it. Okay, so there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it. But if you have a previous injury and it's preventing you from exercising, don't let it. There's a right way to work around it. You can reach out to me or other professionals that can guide you through it. And if you do have an injury somewhere along your fitness journey, small or big, there's a correct way to work around it and let your body heal and still be optimal and still achieve your goal and maintain the rewards and the goals that you had set forth for yourself. So I hope this video can bring you guys some value on your journey and get away some stigmas and some fears and limiting beliefs you have with injuries and training. If any of you guys out there are curious about exercise or trying to get into a routine, I have a free workout, one for females and one for males, with some nutrition advice and video advice attached to it, with your cardio, some stretching, some stress management that you can do to give you a beginner's sort of intro into the fitness industry. Or maybe you haven't trained for a long time and you're not sure whether you're willing to invest into a coach or to a program. It's absolutely free. I want to make sure everybody out there has some good information and has a good start to be their best versions and gift that to the people that are around them. If you have any questions or need any help, you can DM me. All the information is in the bio. You can shoot me an email or a private message on one of my social media platforms. Stay good to yourself, stay true to yourself. Let nothing and nobody get in the way of the life that you want to live. And make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Show some support. Take care.